Good people, what is going on? I am your host, Desmond, here with the Michigan-Wisconsin recap. My co-host, Dre, will be joining us momentarily. Before we get into it, thank you so much for joining. We are the Michigan Football at the Voice of College Football channel. Please like and subscribe. We are trying to make a push to catch the Oklahoma football at the Voice of College Football channel as well. With subscribers, I think we were just a tick under 2,200. So thank you all who have followed. We definitely appreciate it, or subscribed. So thanks so much. Appreciate that. Also, have the info in the description of the super chat that is for Mark's channel and for just what he runs. So we definitely encourage you to donate there. There's also PayPal, Cash App, all that good stuff is listed there. So feel free to check that out in the description. So, Michigan with a big win, 38-10, and then Wisconsin got a late touchdown and made it 38-17. But all in all, a really tough opponent, which is what I definitely thought Wisconsin was. I thought the game would be closer than it was. 38-17, it's a pretty darn good win margin. And overall, the game was was in control for Michigan for most of that game. I think the 13-10 kind of late first half was probably when it was kind of the most up in the air. But Michigan played a really good game. That I feel like I get on here and say it every week, but talk about the defense. Really, I'll say they held them to 10 points. The late score, that's not even your starter. So that's a garbage time score. So holding a team once again to 10 points is just, that's impressive. It's extremely impressive. And, I know Graham Mertz struggled last week against Notre Dame, but that doesn't mean he's not a good quarterback. I think he is a good quarterback, just struggling right now, but huge win. Some highlights, Aiden, Hutchinson, he's a beast. I think he is in the conversation for the absolute best defender in the Big Ten. And, when you start looking at the country overall, he might be, pretty, he might have an argument to be a potentially top 10, defender in the country. So some pretty cool things that, we saw with Michigan, but absolutely impressive win from them, and just a pretty impressive win. Like I said, I know Wisconsin was 1-2 coming into this game, but to me, that's not like, Michigan played a scrub team today. They played a really good team and overall dominated that game. So I'm going to bring in the man, the myth, the legend, Drizzy Dre, joining us. My friend, how you doing, man?
Good. How's my sound coming in?
You are golden, my friend, golden. So just giving a quick little game recap. What are your thoughts on on the game?
Well, today I can sum up today in one word I've been waiting all season to say, and that is balance. Balance, especially offensively. We've known what this team is defensively. We know that Mike McDonald's done a really good job, which is, in a rare situation where you're changing your defensive scheme from a 4-3 to a 3-4, he's been able to do that in one offseason and been able to help utilize the player strengths he has on his roster without having to wait a couple of years to retool and recruit the right guys for a 3-4. He's been able to make the best out of it. So we've known how good this team is defensively. But offensively, we had the questions we talked about week to week. Where's the passing game? How would it handle, a team that can at least slow down Michigan's rushing offense? And, today, McNamara responded. He made some really good throws, man. It was so refreshing to see. I love the aggressiveness on offense. There's a point in time where I think we threw 5 or 6 passes in a row. We totally changed things up. And we didn't necessarily have to, but we did it anyway. It was kind of bizarre because it's like, well, why would you do that?
Go ahead.
Against the team. Is that me?
No, okay. That was me. I'm Bonehead.
Okay. Why would you do that against a team? Why you won't want to do that against a team that's solid to good, but you wouldn't do that against the weaker teams? You know what I'm saying? And which you would like, pass the ball 6-7 times in a row, really kind of play with your offense a little bit, a little bit more creative. But it was great to see, man. It's not like a lot of, I never say anything negative. It's all about critiquing aspects of his team to make sure they're on the path to win a Big Ten title. That's what it's all about. And today they started to check a lot of those boxes, and it was great to see.
Yeah, it's I mean, like you said, there's not much you can really get on them about. I think Cade ended up, I think, with 28 pass attempts. Early on, it didn't seem like him and the receivers were on the same page. Like they seemed like they were just kind of miscommunicating a little bit, like they weren't in sync. But they kind of got to that point to where you could tell, like, okay, these guys are finally starting to get it down a little bit. And Cade, what I think he did a great job with was giving his guys a shot, like especially a lot of those deep balls. Like, some of the guys were covered pretty well, but he just, sometimes you need to do that, especially in big games where it's like, look, man, like sometimes you just got to give him a shot. And I thought he did a good job of that. And overall, the receivers did a good job of helping him out and going to make a play. So I thought that was something, pretty big to make sure that you give your guys a shot. Sometimes you just gotta put the ball in harm's way sometimes.
Yeah. And earlier on in the game, I thought you saw the rust with Cade and the receivers, the lack of rhythm and the lack of timing. Lack, excuse me, of timing. You saw a few balls that were thrown behind receivers on a thrown by Cade at times. There was a couple situations like with Baldwin in which he doesn't recognize that the Wisconsin defense is playing in a zone, and he continues to run his route without slowing it down, kind of sitting in a spot, but Cade kind of throws it to a spot. And so it looks like he throws it behind Baldwin, but it was more of a miscommunication. And those are one of those things that will be corrected just by repetition, right? And that goes back to that. It didn't hurt him today, but it goes back to those previous 4 weeks where we're like, okay, if you do those things, maybe that doesn't happen, right? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it gives you the opportunity to work out those kinks. But all in all, what I was really impressed with was that they, even though the pass game was a little bit rusty at first, they stuck with it. And I thought the flea flicker, not only did it work fantastically, but it was kind of like an exhale for both Cade, and the offense. Like, it was like, we can't hit a big play.
And that was a great throw because Cornelius Johnson was open, but it's not like he was wide open that Cade could just put it anywhere and it's going to be completed. Mm-hmm. That was a beautiful throw by Cade. Yeah. That was incredible. It was awesome to see. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, that was huge, and that was just such a beautiful throw by Cade. Like it was just on the money.
And think about it from the Wisconsin, point of view. You, like everyone else, you're coming into this game knowing what Michigan does very well. Up to this point in the game, they've been very, very one-dimensional. And, Michigan, ran the ball solid today, but now nowhere near as they weren't gashing, like as we expected, weren't gashing Wisconsin like they've done, the previous opponents. But from Wisconsin's point of view, it's like, oh boy, they did hit a big one over the top. Now we have to at least watch that. We can't just load every time because they're not afraid. One, they're not afraid to throw it down the field, and two, they've proven that they can. And that's why it's so important to be able to take those shots, and when you do have those shots, to be able to convert them as much as possible. And it was a great play call, great timing of it, great execution. Wisconsin was not expecting that at all.
Correct. But honestly, I would think about it too. If I was a Wisconsin fan, I would probably have a little bit of confidence because I'm thinking like, okay, number one, they have to pull flea flicker is a trick play. Like, they got to pull a
Yes,
trick play.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? And like, they needed that to score. So even if you're a Wisconsin fan, like, okay, we gave up a score, like, but how many times, you know what I mean? Like, you're probably thinking in your psyche, like, all right, we're good. Like, you know what I mean? And Michigan just kept leaning on them, where it was just like, you know, they still ran the ball like kind of their typical ball control offense. But I thought they did a good job. It was, like I said, it was a little like rocky early, but they did a good job of getting back in rhythm. And really that defense had, Wisconsin. I mean, I think Graham Mertz started like 0 for 5 or something, like 0 for 5, 0 for 6. Like,
It was
it
like
was
over
a
5, over 6,
start for them.
no yards. I mean, he couldn't get it, in any rhythm. He had like the yips. He was forcing passes. It was a few plays that he was lucky that didn't end up in a turnover. But then that kind of brings us to the almost end of the first half, where I was like, ooh, he started to kind of click a little bit. He started to look like Graham Mertz his freshman year, that first game versus Illinois. I mean, he was throwing some really, really good balls. Throwing absolute dimes, and it's like, okay, well, if that dimension starts opening up, and you go into halftime with Wisconsin, getting a touchdown, down 3 points, and getting the ball back in the second half, you're like, okay, that could be the swing, the swing in the game. And if you want to point out any areas of critique, questionable call by Jim Harbaugh to do a squib kick, and his staff to do a squib kick, because and it's easier to critique it once
Because it didn't
how it
work.
ended up. But at the time, I will say, it's not like Wisconsin's offense was clicking, like at a high rate. I mean, I think the previous drive, they got a field goal. The Michigan came back and got a field goal. So they started to play a little bit better offensively, but they weren't just getting up and down the field quickly. Like, it was like that first drive that Wisconsin got their field goal, I think it took like 5 to 6 minutes for them to score. But it was one of those long, dragged out, drives. And it's like, okay, well, you don't have that much time. You're not going to get down the field that quickly. So I can understand the thought process, but it could have potentially ended up being a disaster, because Wisconsin starts rolling, they score. Who knows if they score when they get the ball in the second half? Now Michigan's down 17-13, and now what I think helped Michigan today was that they avoided the haymaker punch. They never were down. They were never down. And that's like the first time that's happened while they're being at Wisconsin, if my memory serves me correctly. They were never down. And it would have been interesting to see, scary, but interesting to see if Wisconsin does score when they get the ball, start off the second half, and they go up 17-13, how Michigan would have responded. Because that would have been their first real test of adversity all season. And, but to give them credit, they did not allow Wisconsin to score, because Wisconsin did have the momentum going into halftime. They did not allow Wisconsin to score. They stopped them on defense, and then they scored on offense. So, it was a great job done by the team.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm on the flip side about the squib kick, because number one, a couple things. Number one, you almost got it. Like, they almost did get it. I mean, he fight for the ball.
It up. I got you. Yeah.
But number two is, and the thing that I like and appreciate is, number one, the Jim Harbaugh before this season would have never done anything like that.
Right.
And also, for me, there's a window right there let's walk it out. So if you do get that, you score a touchdown, you go up 20-3 going into halftime, and essentially you shut the door on Wisconsin. Like, the game is over at that point. You know what I mean? Because of the struggles that they've had offensively. Your defense is playing well. You're going to put them essentially in a one-dimensional offense. Like, they're going to have to throw the ball, because, granted, 17 points isn't a ton, but when the team that you're playing in Michigan is a run-heavy, like, ball control team, like, you're only going to get so many possessions. So I like the move. I'm not going to question it. Like, granted, it didn't work, and I mean, that's part of football. But I think the window was there to be able to close the door on Wisconsin by halftime. Like, and what more could you want than that. You know what I mean? Like, yo, we're going in the locker room 20-3. They've done absolutely nothing. We have total control of this game, and everybody in that locker room knows, like, we're going to win this game. There's no doubt about it. You know, so I understand it, but I do. I understand it could be looked at as a questionable call. Like, everyone's not going to agree with it, but I'm on the side of, like, yeah, like, not give him a knockout blow, like, right now. As soon as you can deliver the knockout blow, like, do it, you know?
Yeah. And also, you know, you got to give Hart, and that was an aggressive call by him. And also give him credit with this too. Now, it didn't work on that drive, but he went for it on fourth down twice in the same drive.
First drive. Yep.
And that was the first drive of the game. And even though they didn't score and it didn't work, to me, it set the tone with the mentality that he had going into the game, which is that we understand. It was like a sense of urgency. You can tell there's a sense of urgency for us to get off to a hot start and to set the tone of this game that we're going to be the aggressors, right? We understand what the history is of us being here, and, you know, we're going to put our, you know, our stake, our flag in the ground, and we're going to show who we are. You know, we're not going to be conservative to start this game, right? I got to get, and I think it's also, and I'm trying to psychoanalyze Jim Harbaugh, but, you know, I think it's also sending a message to his players, right? That I believe in you, and I need us to get us some confidence early. You know what I'm saying? Like, it totally changes the mindset of your team. And, you know, I give him credit for it. I give him a lot of credit for it. It didn't work, but sometimes it doesn't always have to work, you know, at least not in the way that you will ultimately, you know, intend it to work, you know? So yeah, gotta give him credit there too. For sure.
We, you know, obviously we try to psychoanalyze from, you know, from this side, outside looking in. But I do think he is different. His mindset's a little different. But I wanted to pause real quick because Dre, you're a celebrity. I mean, people are recognizing you from the gym. Like, this is incredible. This is great.
Really?
This is great. Yeah. So Darnell Kirkland put his head Dre from Lifetime. I knew you looked familiar. Look at this. Look at this.
I didn't know that.
I mean,
no.
Goodness, I had no idea you were so famous, Dre. This is awesome.
Oh yeah,
this is
incredible. Me and Darnell play basketball a lot together. Yeah. What's up, man?
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Darnell, for joining us, and definitely want to highlight Don. Thank you so much for the super chat. But he puts a big win on the road, but LOL, agree or disagree, Michigan still hasn't beaten anyone yet. I'll let you kick it off, and then I'll respond. So, what is your response to that?
Well, I understand his hesitation to label this a big win in terms of Michigan beating like a ranked opponent or opponent that's playing really good football. Look, there's no doubt, especially now playing Wisconsin head to head, that Wisconsin has issues, right? You know, they're not their typical Wisconsin team who's going to win, you know, 9-10 games this season, especially with, you know, the West, you know, in Iowa, where Iowa's playing this year. However, they're not a bad football team. They're a much better opponent than Michigan's played this season. You know, Wisconsin is better than Washington. They're better than Northern Illinois. They're better than Rutgers, right? So, and who am I missing?
Western Michigan.
Western Michigan. That's the first game of the year. You know, they're much better than those four opponents. So this is the best opponent they played this year. Now, beating anyone, I guess when someone's saying anyone, they may be asking for like a ranked opponent, undefeated or something like that. So from that standpoint, no, Wisconsin's not that. But you got to think about the circumstances going into this game. You know, Michigan hasn't won here in 2001, since 2001. And also, you know, just to get a little bit more recent, especially with this regime under Jim Harbaugh, the last 2 times they've been blown off the field in embarrassing fashion. They've been broken physically and mentally in those games. And
games over before halftime.
Over before halftime. And what's big about this game is that sometimes it's not the overall quality of the opponent, but it's given over certain humps that have been setbacks in previous years. And going to Wisconsin, winning at Kent Randall, when, of course, it's a Big Ten game. You can't really, to win a Big Ten East, you can't afford to drop anything, really, right? It's been a stumbling block, and today they jumped over it. They leaped over it, right? And they didn't just walk over it. They leaped over it. So I thought overall it was a really good win, and in the right direction. I'll say that. But no, they definitely Wisconsin has their issues, and they're not, to me, at the caliber of Ohio State, or I think Michigan State may be a little bit better than them. But we'll see.
Yeah, I
Did I answer the
disagree.
question? I feel like I talked around it a lot.
I think you basically said that you agree that Michigan still hasn't beaten anyone yet.
But
that's what it seemed like you said. Is that not true?
Well, here's the problem with answering that question, because today I thought was a really good win, a much better win than any other win this season. And I thought they proved a lot that Michigan is at least a good team. A good team.
Oh, Michigan's a very good team.
A very good team. I thought Michigan proved today. But I wasn't for sure of that the previous 4 weeks, Desmond. That's my point, because of how bad the opponents were. Wisconsin was that much better. And I've seen enough of them against Notre Dame, even though that game got out of hand, and also against Penn State, to know that Wisconsin is better than much better than the previous 4 opponents. But I don't know exactly what Wisconsin is yet. It's just like when State fans were jumping up and down, ready to burn couches in East Lansing when they went down and beat Miami, right? Because Miami was a ranked team, and now State fans feeling like they're about to, and that's no shot at State but it's like, now we see what Miami is, right? I'm not sure what Wisconsin is. I do believe, to answer your question, Don, that Wisconsin probably will win eight games this year. They'll probably finish 24th, 25th in the country. So fine, it'd be a nice win. But as of now, fine. I'm just talking around it. Good win. No, they haven't been a great opponent yet. Fine. I'll go there. Leave it to you.
Well, don't change the question, because he didn't say great opponent. He said Michigan hasn't beaten anyone yet. So
what does anyone mean?
I don't think it necessarily means great opponent. Okay, so answer the question. Agree or disagree? Michigan still hasn't beaten anyone yet. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with that?
I disagree. I'm gonna be a homer right now. I'm in my feelings right now. I'm going to disagree.
So you disagree?
Yes.
Michigan has beaten someone, but literally everything you said before this was basically that
it's
you
a
agree
tough
with
question
that.
to answer.
It's straightforward. I feel like it's not. It's straightforward. Michigan hasn't beaten anyone yet. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. Fine. I agree. Because see, you're making me, because
I'm making you answer the question.
It's a white or black question. It's literally a white or black question. It's like I think the answer's in the middle. Like I really do. I think Wisconsin's solid.
That's not how a white or black question works. It's literally, there's a line down the middle, and you're either on one side or the other. You can't be on the line. So, do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. I think Michigan beat someone today. I think Wisconsin is solid.
And that's where I am. I haven't wavered. Just waited on you to finish, but I disagree. I think Wisconsin is a legitimate team, and they're a legitimate team. They had the loss to Notre Dame last week, but I mean Notre Dame's a top 10 football team. You know what I mean? Like today,
Penn State.
Whether wherever they finish, like that's a really good team that they played. And like you said, with Penn State as well, like how many teams can you line up to play the games that they've played that would be 3-0? Like it's not that many. You know what I mean? And let's just even take those 2 games, Penn State and Notre Dame. There's not that many teams that are going to be 2-0 after that.
I'm not even sure Ohio State is undefeated. Like the way Ohio State's playing now. Like imagine if Ohio State had to start their season at Penn State at Notre Dame, or that home versus Penn State. I'm not sure the way they're playing now if they win those games. To your point.
It's not like, you know what I mean, like Wisconsin limped into this game,
right?
Losing to unranked or bad teams. Like they lost to really good teams. Like and the thing is, no matter what you think about Penn State or Notre Dame, like still, even if you're just like, well, they're way overrated, that could be true, but nonetheless, there's still not many teams that are going to have those 2 games that are going to come out 2-0. Like there's just not. Could you name 10 teams? Like, just, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a difficult thing to do. So I think they had a really tough schedule. I think they're a really good quality team. Their quarterback is having a lot of struggles right now. Like, Graham Mertz just can't
He's
seem to get
playing
it
better
together,
though.
and
To
then
his
he gets
credit.
hurt, today. So it's tough, but I think Wisconsin is a quality football team. They're a really good football team. Yeah, maybe not really good, but they're no slouch. I know that much for sure. So, solid win. I'm gonna give them all the credit, in that win because it's big. I mean, you won on the road. Camp Randall was jumping. They did the whole jump around, which I've never actually seen that on TV before. Like, I guess I don't watch a lot of Wisconsin home games, but it was pretty. It was live. I'm like, this is cool. But the interesting part too was, I don't know if you saw it, but I saw on Twitter that actually the Michigan players were getting in on it too. So the whole Michigan sideline was like doing the jump around too. That's kind of cool too.
I mean,
yeah, like why not? Like
we're
we got to
enjoying
get
this
in.
atmosphere.
We got to get into
this
it.
is fun. I mean, it's not just for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I want to get hyped. We're hyped too. So
Right.
No, I mean, yeah, I saw it too.
That's interesting. So this, we titled QB play, but more so like QB play and QB, I guess, usage. What did you think about like JJ coming in? Like, so he started the second half. I mean, I there's really no other way to put it. He
did.
was the quarterback for the first
snap.
two plays. So you run, he hands it off, and then Cade comes in. It's third down, and I can't remember what I think they converted, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
they converted. But it just like JJ was just kind of like peppered in. What was your thoughts on that?
I thought it was odd. I thought it was odd, especially like the first play of the second half. It was almost like, and I think Joe Clapp pointed out that the ends were crashing really hard off the RPO, and maybe the coaching staff saw that and they was like, "Hey, let's start JJ. Let's see if we can get them to second guess that." But the first play of the drive, and then throwing in Cade, third down, cold, and you need to convert it. Remember at this time it's still 13-10. Like Wisconsin didn't score, but it's a close game. It's not like
at that point, I thought JJ was just going to play the rest of the half. I'm just like, wow, they made a change. Like, because this seems to be just kind of looming over like the Michigan program of like when JJ's going to,
especially the throw that JJ made. I mean, today, my goodness, man, that
to Baldwin.
That dime to Baldwin, man, you can't throw it better than that. I mean, and I was more impressed with that throw than I was the throw against Western. I mean, that's a throw in the pocket. He put it perfectly on his shoulder. He did something that the one aspect of Cade's game that he struggled with is the deep ball at times. Well, not necessarily deep ball. He sometimes underthrows guys. And that's one thing I haven't seen a problem with JJ. JJ's not going to, he may overthrow it, put a little bit too much mustard on it, but he ain't going to underthrow it. Yeah. And, I thought that I was really impressed with the way JJ threw the ball. That your point about this quarterback shuffle, I think it's an effort to get JJ some time. I just believe that to do that in a game in which, it's 13-10, and Cade really, especially in the first half, was just starting to get in a good rhythm, I wouldn't want to break that up. So that's why I thought it was a little bit weird. And this is where people have to separate the final result based on the circumstances, right? Going into those plays. Yeah, it all worked out. Michigan dominated today. We're all happy about that. But I would hope that Harbaugh and Gaddis and the staff find better ways and to sprinkle in JJ.
It's
pretty disruptive.
It's just, I think I'd feel better about it if they were two separate style quarterbacks. Like, but it's not as if like JJ is, the Tim Tebow, Chris Leak, dynamic. I think that's probably the first big time that we kind of saw that happen of, kind of a more of a running style quarterback, and then also the pocket passer. But JJ is more athletic than Cade, but it's not it's not a huge difference to where it's like, JJ is Lamar Jackson and Cade is Pat Mahomes. Like, right. It's pretty close. So it's I don't understand it. And what is interesting that I did not think about at all until they said it. So Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson were talking about it. and one of them, I can't remember, but one of them just
We'll
like,
keep JJ
well,
happy.
you want to know why, like, JJ's, why is he, kind of get sprinkled in, blah, blah, blah. And they were just like, the transfer portal. Like, you need to keep them happy, keep them in the game a little bit. And I'm like, honestly, I can understand that point 100%. And if that is the case of like, well, we want to make sure we get him to 5 games played as soon as possible. Like, I get it. Like, I get it 100%. It's just, I don't know. It's just interesting. Like, and it feels like I texted Corey, who's a fan of the show, and I just text him. I'm like, I feel like there's almost different play callers when JJ is in versus when Cade is in, because we've seen it multiple times now with JJ in the game. They're throwing the ball a lot, like more. The run pass ratio is much heavier to pass when JJ's in the game, and much lower when Cade is in the game. Because I mean, we can look at
today.
Say it again.
Besides today they threw a lot with Cade. I mean, they let it rip.
Correct. 28 pass attempts. Like, yeah, for sure. But I mean, we've had games where JJ's played, like 3 drives and has as many pass attempts in those 3 drives as Cade had the entire game.
Right.
So it's just, and then too, granted, JJ threw a dime, to Baldwin down the sideline. But I'm just thinking too, I'm like, where was this when Cade was in? You know what I mean? Like, in a quarter, like, it doesn't seem the same. And maybe I'm looking too much into it, but it doesn't seem like, it's the same. And maybe part of it, which could be the big issue, is that, Cade is just not taking the deep shots and not being aggressive with the ball. But it seems a little different. It just seems different to me. And maybe, like I said, and I could be reading too much into it and I'm crazy, but the play calling seems more aggressive when JJ's in the game.
I thought Cade took his shot, especially today. Like, I thought Cade, there were some times when he did take shots, he threw it in double coverage a little bit. So I mean, I definitely thought Cade took some shots today. A few times Eric All, Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, and that was another a positive to see, is that more than multiple playmakers starting to potentially show themselves and establish themselves now that Ronnie Bell is gone. Roman Wilson, he seems to have some really good wiggle on the outside. He's able to create separation that he can run. Same thing with Cornelius Johnson. Eric All had a few big catches today. So, that was very, very good to see that Cade was able to find multiple people to make plays for him. Overall today, I thought Cade threw the ball a lot. I thought he took plenty of shots. I didn't really see much of a less aggressive down the field approach with Cade compared to JJ. If anything, when JJ got in, I thought they ran the ball a lot more consistently, at least at first, probably to get him, comfortable being on the field and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought today it was a nice balance.
Okay. So we are going to get to kind of what this win means.
Right.
But before we do that, you text me before we got started that you wanted to touch on at least some missed opportunities in the game. So I'll kind of kick it off to you, and you can go ahead and drive it.
Right. And granted, when I text you that, I will say this, full disclaimer, Michigan did a much better job of taking advantage of opportunities later on in the game. Think in the first quarter, Michigan goes up 7-0. Either first or second quarter, Michigan goes up 7-0. We get a fumble off a Pooch punt or something like that, or a kickoff. I think it was a muff punt or something like that. No, it was a punt. It went off the Wisconsin.
The guy just ran into it. It was weird.
Into it. And we got the ball at the 10-yard line, or maybe the 5 or something.
It was like the 5. Yeah, we got it at the 5.
And we pretty much went backwards, ran the ball 2 or 3 times in a row. We went backwards, and it was a wasted opportunity. And the reason why I bring to progress in this season, and we're trying to win a Big Ten title, maybe in a game against Michigan State where they're playing, maybe against Penn State, and maybe against Ohio State, we're going to need to capitalize on those opportunities in the red zone and not just get a field goal, get a touchdown, because one, those teams can score, have have been scoring at a higher clip than Wisconsin has, right? 2, you may not get those opportunities as much, in terms of self-inflicted mistakes that Wisconsin made with those teams, right? So you got to be able to take advantage and find a way to get the ball in the end zone. So it's not really like a critique of today that it didn't cost us the game. Once again, we played very well, but it's one of those things where I'm sure in the film rooms this week, they'll talk about that. Hey, we got to find a way to get the ball in the end zone because you just never, with the really good teams, if they give you those self-inflicted mistakes, which could be rare, you got to find a way to capitalize as best you can. So that was the main thing. Just be careful of that. You don't want to get in the habit of, when you get in the red zone, kicking too many field goals.
Yeah, and once they got that recovery, I actually tweeted it was just like Michigan's got to get 6 here because I think if you get 6 there, you really shut the door on the game, and obviously it ends up being a moot point because you put up 38 points, so it's but nonetheless, I do agree like that though, because those are nail in the coffin, knockout blows. Like when something like that happens, like you get a turnover deep in their territory, like. You know what I mean? Like score a touchdown. Like you have to do that because really, when you end up kicking a field goal there, that's a win for the defense. Like for the defense, they're thinking they only had 5 yards to go and we stopped them. Like that's a win for us.
Win for the defense and an excel the whole team and a slight change. You go from a team feeling debilitated that we just got to stop, but now we're backed up to our own 5-yard line to. And the offense is not playing very well. Now we get a stop. Okay, that wasn't the worst possible scenario. We, get the ball back. They only got a field goal, and we're still in this game. It's just those things make a whole. They're huge in the long. The long point of view in the game. So just be careful of those type of things and make sure that you're doing a better job, taking advantage. That's all.
For sure. And we'll get to our next topic here shortly. But DE says, how do you guys like your crow? You both picked Michigan to lose. Now, I'm not quite sure if DE saw our last show, but I actually picked Michigan to, my score prediction was 35-31 Michigan.
Yeah.
So DE, you're wrong. Thank you for your comment. Definitely appreciate it. Dre, I don't remember what your score prediction. What was your?
It was 21-17 Wisconsin. It was 21-17 Wisconsin, and that's fine. I mean, I'll eat crow. I mean, I'm happy for the win today. Like I'm not. Trust me, I am not crying about my take being wrong, and
right.
I love when people bring up stuff like that, and I make sure to go through, look at, how people feel, when we do these videos and stuff like that, going and make sure get understand how you guys feel out there. What is your point of view, and I think people confuse pessimism and negativity with being objective and looking at the big picture of a team and the recent history of how we played at Wisconsin on the Harbaugh and the lack up to this game. This game was different up to this game of a legitimate passing attack that we can utilize when we need it. Gave me big cause for concern. Big cause for concern. So, based on what I've known at that point, I don't feel bad about that take, and I'll gladly eat crow and move on 5-0 because all our goals are in front of us. But yeah, I mean, and that's what it's about, guys. Like when you're on the path to try to do something special in the season, it's all about checking boxes and getting over certain humps. It's never a smooth path. It's never a totally smooth road. And this is one of those humps that I thought Michigan would have. And today they jumped over it. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad to see it. But there will be more. And I will call it out if I see it. If it's a team that I think we're going to beat easily, I'm going to say that. If I think we're going to struggle with a team because of the things that we don't do well or things they do well or vice versa, I'm going to say it. So, but no, I'm happy as you guys. We're moving forward, and that's it.
DE just not. He's not going to let it Let it go.
That's fine. It's like let me say this too. I don't want to rant, but just 30 seconds. For you people out there, do you think that Michigan fans like me who are somehow looked at pessimistic, you think I want to say that stuff? Do you think do you think I want to come on here? Well, I would love to come on every video and go, hell to the victors. We're going to the Big Ten title game. We're going to win the Big Ten. We're going to the national title. Everybody in Ohio State's about to eat croak. We're about to beat them in November. I can't wait. Go blue. I would love to be able to do that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't live in a fantasy. Okay. I love my school, but I look at the team for what they are, and I take it how it is, and I can change my perspective based on what they show me rather than what I hope for. Show versus hope. There's a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, fine. Yes, I picked Wisconsin, and
Dre will eat crow. De, I will not eat any crow because I correctly picked the winner of the game. Now my score prediction was way off, but nonetheless,
he's picking Wisconsin.
Thanks again for
it's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. So big picture. I mean, what does this win mean for Michigan?
It means that, like I said, it's getting over a hump that you stumbled with throughout, the last couple of years. It's another Big Ten win, which is vital with, trying to get to the Big Ten title game, because the margin of error is so small, especially playing here in the East. With us, the way Michigan State's playing this year, the way Penn State's playing this year, even Ohio State's struggling, they still are undefeated in the Big Ten, right? So, we had to have this game. We can't afford to drop any Big Ten games. So, it's good from a exercise in demons type of standpoint, and also just this season and, staying undefeated in the standings.
Yeah. This is huge. I mean, I thought coming into the season before the season started, I thought Washington would be a test in some ways. Like I didn't think Michigan had any shot of losing to Washington. I just thought your roster was just so much better than theirs that that's not happening. But Wisconsin was the game that I was circling, that it just basically the first 4 games you have before you play Wisconsin, you need to essentially be tuning up for Wisconsin. And, and that's more a Jim Harbaugh mindset, right? Like you can't tell your players that they're, that's what we're doing. But for Jim, I think that should have been his mentality, and not sure if it was or wasn't, but nonetheless, you're staring 7-0 right in the face and looking at a trip to East Lansing, at least you being 7-0, but potentially I haven't looked at Michigan State's schedule, but we could be in for in college game day, number one, but an undefeated Michigan State and an undefeated Michigan, and you know what I mean, one of the biggest rivalries. Like that would be perfect. That would be perfect. And I think it's real on Michigan side. I think it's real. Like you are going to be 7-0 going to East Lansing. So when we start talking about relevancy and I mean, Michigan was what, 14 today, ranked 14, and you get a big win here. You're easily talking about a top 10 team in 2 weeks, with 2 more wins. You're talking about a top 10 team. I think Michigan State's, ranked as well. So it's going to be incredible. Like it's going to be incredible, and it's shaping up. And once again, it's almost a reset. You know what I mean? Because the way I looked at the first 4 games was a tune-up for Wisconsin, and the way I'm looking at these next 2 games is a set. And I know before the season started to say like you got to get ready for Michigan State, like would have been crazy because they didn't have a great year last year, but that's probably what you need to do, like especially for this Nebraska team. I know people are, Joel Klatt is trying to tell us that Nebraska's much improved, blah, blah, blah. Nebraska's awful. Michigan should destroy them. They are terrible. Like
we'll find out tonight. I think Nebraska plays MSU tonight, so we'll find out tonight how much better Nebraska is.
Nebraska's going to lose. That's what's going to happen.
Well, I know what this is. Part of this is because you don't like Lincoln Riley, and you didn't value how well Nebraska played against Oklahoma. and
I
you just
don't
didn't
care
care.
about that. No, hold on. That's got nothing to do with it. No. Now, I've got my criticisms of Lincoln Riley, but the Nebraska
You're a
and all
Lincoln
this
Riley
take
hater,
has
but I don't
nothing
want
to
to go
do.
down that road. You're a Lincoln Riley hater, so it is what it is. Anyway,
We can move past that because we don't
yes.
have enough time to do. We could do a show about just my feelings on Lincoln Riley and his
Right.
perception.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, Michigan is going to have a huge game, and I don't know if they would ever flex that to like a night game, but that
No.
would be.
They tend to not. I would love that, but I think for the warrior foods out there that they would never do that. But
True, especially and honestly, like I think it works in Michigan's favor because having being on the road and having a full day of just libations for their fan base, like it would be nuts. You know what I mean? Like
right.
so,
For,
I think that
for
actually
both,
benefits
for
Michigan.
both. Okay, look, but both fan bases don't know how to act. So let's just keep it how it is.
Well, yeah, but no, I think like it's gonna be that'll be a great game. But I think that's where we're trending. We're trending towards. I know Michigan should be 7-0, strolling into East Lansing and potentially Michigan State being there. Like I said, I don't know who they have on the schedule today and in the next couple weeks, but man, that would be awesome to have Michigan in that primetime game. Like it would be really cool. It'd be awesome.
I agree.
Okay, so we got a couple questions. So Maul says our offense was supposed to be worse than that. Wisconsin just kicked out. I don't know if I quite understand what
He was
exactly,
supposed,
but essentially, I guess he's saying their offense wasn't supposed to be that good.
I think what he's trying to say is that our offense was like there was a perception out there maybe that we were giving or maybe other people were giving, the so-called haters. It was that Wisconsin offense is better than Michigan's. No, I don't recall any of us saying that. I think what we were saying is that Michigan itself had question marks about our own offense in terms of our diversity in attack. We could attack up to this point very well with the running game, but we could not attack well with the passing game. Okay.
Well, we haven't
No one,
we cannot. We just haven't seen
we
it,
have not
and
proven it.
and
We
I
have
was
not
very
proven
adamant
it.
and clear on my point was it's not that he can't do it. We just haven't seen it this year. Like we saw him
Right.
do it last year, but that was my point on it was
Don't
like we just haven't seen him
don't
do it.
try to single me out. That was both our point. I'm like, well, my point was no.
I'm trying to
We
be
both
very
said that.
clear,
Now don't try to
very
make it
clear.
seem like I was the bad guy.
I didn't say you were the bad. I just made it clear of my point. Want to reiterate my point
Okay. Well,
because I
our
love when I'm
point
right.
was, huh? Exactly.
Because I love when I'm right. I love that.
I know you do. I know you do. No, our point was that basically we know that Michigan can run a football, but we haven't proven that they can pass the football when they need to. It's a difference when you just want to, hey, we're up 25-0, let's take a shot here, compared to we're only up 2013 versus Rutgers. Now we need to get an extra score, or we need to move the change, and it's 3rd and 7, or it's 3rd and 10, right? We can't run a football, right? So that's what we were saying. No one said anything about Wisconsin offense being better than Michigan's. If anything, last week, if I remember, when we were doing on Wednesday, when we were doing the show with Mark, we were in lockstep that Wisconsin's offense has its own issues, but the problem was that what Michigan's offense does well up to that point, from being one-dimensional, is running the football. But Wisconsin is fantastic at slowing down the football. Up to this point, the #1 ranked rush defense in the country. So if we're playing a team that does the best job of stopping the run, and it's the main thing that we can prove that we can do, and we haven't shown that we can pass the football. We haven't shown it this year. Yeah, that seems like that can be troublesome. That's what we were saying. So yeah.
And I don't think that's unreasonable. I'm just kind of rolling through the comments and just highlighting
Keep doing
different
it. It's
ones.
fun. I address them all, man. Whether they're rational or not.
So this comment, and I want to say Young Hey Joe. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm so sorry, but thanks for the comment. What do you think about this? Cade proved that he can throw.
I don't know what that means. Yeah, yes, he can throw.
Guess, assume you know what they mean.
He can throw. Um, I
I
think
think you
last
get
year
the point. Like
I
you
think
get what.
last year versus Rutgers, he proved that he can throw the football. It was not can he throw the football. It's about it's a difference. Like these guys at these levels, these 3, 4 to 5 star kids, Kate, JJ, Shea Patterson, Brandon Peters, they can all throw the football in practice in 7-on-7s. They can make the throws. They can make the deep shots, the middle shots, the dump downs. That's so being able to throw the football. It's not the problem. It's the decision making. It's knowing when to do it, how to create with your legs, how to step up in the pocket, uh, being able to keep your composure when you're on the road and what your offense does well is not working, and now you need to make a play. Right? It's those aspects, it's those intangibles, right? So I don't think the question about K was can he throw? It's about can he handle everything around besides the point of him just releasing the football, right? There's a lot that goes in between the ears, right, in your mind as a quarterback before you release that ball. A lot of pre-snap judgment, a lot of when the ball is judged, can you see what the safeties are doing? Are they falling back? Are they stepping up? And it's a lot that goes in with that, right? And what helps is repetition. That's what helps. And he wasn't getting that. So, no, Cade, to answer your question or to comment on what you said, young Joe, is, Cade proved today that he can handle a game on the road against a better opponent. That's the better way that we can phrase that. Because today was
It's gonna
different.
be,
Today
it's
wasn't
gonna
at
be the,
Rutgers.
yeah. We'll, obviously with just the schedule that we've just looked at, like you're gonna be on the road in East Lansing, like so that'll be a big,
On the road
big
at
deal.
Penn State.
Yep, yep. Watch Me Pop, thanks so much for the comment. He's actually a regular viewer of the channel, so definitely appreciate it. But the comment is lots of the ugly looking passes were the receiver's fault, in my opinion. I actually agree with this because I had text Corey. There was one throw where Baldwin like kind of tipped the ball up and then got hit and dropped it.
That's
It
what I
was
was
like
talking
over the
about.
middle.
Yeah.
Yep. So with that specific play, it was zone coverage, and where he probably should have just kind of stopped or throttled down and had Cade throwing the ball, he kept running. And that's why it looked like the ball was behind him, because he kept running where Cade thought he was going to stop and threw the ball. And it looks, and the only thing that, just kind of the average, just kind of like football watcher is just like, oh man, that looks like a bad throw. It's like, though they're not seeing the same things essentially and understanding the same
Real
things. Because
time
Baldwin
versus
could have
replay.
throttled down and that'd have been an easy pitch and catch. But instead, you know what I mean? He doesn't read the defense correctly. He runs, he continues running where he, and then Cade. So it's like, okay, Cade seeing zone, Baldwin's either seeing man or not reading the defense at all. And then now we get an incomplete pass. And what everyone does typically is jump on the quarterback. Like, golly, man, why can't he throw a good ball? So on and so forth. So I actually agree with that analysis. What say you?
On that play, yes, there was a play to Donovan Edwards where, and even the throw to Roman Wilson. Now, granted, I know there was pressure up the middle, and he wasn't able to step up in the pocket. But well, okay, maybe the Roman Wilson's a bad one because he, like I said, he couldn't step up in the pocket. I'll go with the throw to Donovan Edwards. That it probably should have been 6. Probably should have been a touchdown, but Kate slightly underthrew it and then allowed number 18, the linebacker or safety, I can't remember, maybe I think it was Scott Nelson, was able to get there just in time. He didn't touch the ball, but he was able to get kind of in front of Donovan Edwards' face just to throw off his timing just a bit,
Distract
right?
them.
And if that ball is maybe a split second faster, it's probably 6. So I wouldn't say the word ugly. I would say slightly ill-timed passes. But and the good thing about it with Watch Me Pop is that I think most of the passes that didn't look good today were mostly based on rhythm and timing. They weren't based on ability. So that's a good thing because that's something that could be worked on week to week. And if they continue to pass aggressively like they did today, that will get better. And you shouldn't see that as much. If you do, then that's where you got to consider maybe JJ's the guy. You know what I'm saying? That's when you get into that. But as of now, I think it's more of a rhythm and timing thing.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's a work in progress, as is everything for every team. So Let's Toast Media, thank you so much. Actually need to see about linking up with Let's Toast Media, but Let's Toast Media says salute to Josh Gaddis on that trick play. And we talked about it kind of earlier on in the show where the flea flicker popped off the scoring. You get a big touchdown early on, kind of exhale. You get to break through and score a touchdown. That was golden. I thought that was really big. That was big. So definitely we gave Josh Gaddis some kudos on that one. Let's see here. Trying to roll through and see what other questions we got coming in. Do you have any concern with Nebraska? I guess I'll ask you that. That's next week's opponent.
Unfortunately, see, this is the fun part and hard part of when you're doing something live. I can answer that question a lot more thoroughly after tonight, seeing them play at MSU. As of now, not so much, because similar to Graham Mertz, Adrian Martinez is good for a turnover a game. Especially with pressure. Now, Nebraska's defense is much improved this year. They got some good players on their defense, especially in the front seven. But overall, I think it's going to be one of those games where even if Nebraska comes out and they're playing physical, it'll be one of those games where Michigan pulls away in the end. I just think Michigan has too much talent right now, and they're playing too good of football to let Nebraska stick around. So I think they'll take care of their business.
Yeah, I don't think there's any concern with Nebraska. But this is an interesting question. So Keys Kennel in Training, thanks so much for the comment and tuning in. Says he threw behind the receivers many times. Do you think he's a championship quarterback? Now, that's a great question.
It is.
And so first and foremost, let's start with Big Ten. So do you think that Cade is a Big Ten championship level quarterback? Obviously, he hasn't won it, so he's not a championship quarterback. But
thank you for that, little add in there. But
it's a pass.
So thank you.
Trying to help out.
Yes, I do. Because a championship quarterback is all based on what's around him. That a quarterback is what's around him and the circumstances that and games that he has to go through to win a championship. Like with this Michigan team, Cade doesn't have to be a first round type talent quarterback, right? He just needs to make good decisions and be able to hit those throws, the deep balls, and when he needs to, right? He did that today. If Cade plays like he did today, but maybe a little bit better, right? A little bit more shored up with some of those throws that he undershot, or better communication with his receivers, that's good enough to win the Big Ten. It is, right? Especially with the way they run the football and the way the defense plays, right? This camera keeps moving on me. But yeah, so it's all based on the circumstances around Cade. But the way the team is set up now, yes, they can win a championship with Cade. He's a championship quarterback. Maybe not a great quarterback, but a championship quarterback.
So next is, what about national championship? Do you think where he is today with what we see that Cade is potentially a national championship level quarterback?
National title, dude. Are you really going there? I mean, that's
a question. I don't
know. No. Well, people have
here would be my one question, right? So we are 5 games into the season, right? So last year when we saw Mac Jones, right, he didn't look special or anything like that. You know what I mean? That's what I would look at. Is I would look at a guy who most people kind of like a similar situation where it's just he's just kind of placeholder for the freshman Bryce Young that's going to be coming in. You know what I mean? if you just saw Mac Jones, would you think he's a national championship level quarterback? You know.
Well, with the way you kept sending me IG clips of him throwing 75-yard bombs, you're like, dude, look at this. This is a dime. This is what Desmond was sending me like all last season, the beginning of the season. Like, bro, he threw this 70-yard bomb on the money. You can't throw it better than this. So I don't know. I can't relate to that. But no, I think to win a national title, you almost need to have, an NFL caliber type kid at quarterback. You got to have like a, second, first round talented kid at quarterback. Just think about it. Now, unless the rest of your team is so NFL talent heavy, like a Georgia, like Jake Fromm. Like me and you were huge on Jake Fromm, but he turned out he's an NFL quarterback, but he was a late round pick. But other than that, I mean, you think about the Baker Mayfields. Granted he didn't win a national title, but I'm talking about just to get there, being in the playoffs, right? Jalen Hurts, who starts for the Eagles. Tua starts for the Dolphins. Mac, who starts for the Patriots.
Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence.
Joe Burrow starts for Cincinnati. Trevor Lawrence starts for Jacksonville, right? It goes on and on and on. That's a different level. So that's not a diss to Cade, but it's just, no. I mean, you got to be, you got to have a special kid to me to win a national title.
Okay. Yeah. To me, I'll take a cop-out answer. Like, it's an unknown. I think Cade has the ability to do it. It's a lot of it is going to be, I think, him having the mindset of being a little more aggressive with the football. And I do think play calling was better today. So I don't want to continue to harp on it when it has improved, but I think those things will have to be in lockstep. Like Cade's mentality of being aggressive downfield, and then also the play calling kind of working together. I think it's possible because, and more so because of your defense. I think the defense is elite. So with elite level defense, like you don't need to score 50 a game when you can hold a team to, 21. And I'm talking we're getting in a playoff type of scenario. Yeah. Like, yes, you can hold, Western to 10 and Washington to 10, but I'm talking, can you hold Georgia to 21? Can you hold maybe not Clemson, but those top teams to a low, relatively low score. So we'll see. But I think that is that for us. We've got a hard stop right now. So want to encourage everybody to join us Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mark is usually able to join us as well, but we just kind of talk about just the upcoming game. For DE, you can, figure out our predictions and see if we will need to eat crow this time next week. But no, tune in. We definitely appreciate it. And like I said, please like and subscribe. We definitely appreciate it. We thank you guys so much. We have 93 people in here right now. We got up to like 115, 120. So we super appreciative for you guys for coming in, with your comments and just taking time to view it. So definitely appreciate it. Love you guys. And I think that is it for us.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Peace.